Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminitya Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshaya Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarni Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Uddhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nestiki. Hare Krishna and welcome you all to the Sadachar classes from ISKCON Mangaluru. So today we will be covering prayers of Gajendra. So as we start, right? So I'll just give you a little bit of briefing. So where does this topic comes in, and then who is Gajendra? So Gajendra actually was living in a very opulent place. Okay, so this was an very large mountain called Trikuta. Okay, and then it was 80,000 miles high. Okay, and then it was surrounded by ocean of milk. Okay, so and the length and breadth of the mountains, right, was very huge. Okay, and then so to beautify that, right, so the mountain was so beautiful, right, so which was full of minerals, jewels, right, decorated with nice trees, creepers, yeah. And then there were waterfalls, so it was very an opulent place. Okay, and then the ground of the foot of the mountain is always washed by the waves of milk. Okay, that produces emeralds all around in the 8 directions. And so basically, who all used to visit this place is the inhabitants of the higher planets, right? The Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Kinnaras, Apsaras, right? So they used to come to sport there because there were caves, right? And then it was actually a place for heavenly planets. So the people who want to enjoy, right? So they used to come there because of those resounding vibrations, and the valley was so beautiful. And then, so in this valley of Trikuta mountain, there was a garden called Rutumat. Okay, and then this garden belonged to Lord Varuna. Okay, and that was again a sporting place for all the demigods and damsels. Yeah, and there fruits and flowers grew in all seasons. Okay, so Kalpataros. So it's not like only in the season we get the mangoes. It's anytime, right? And then there were different types of flowers: parijatas, ashokas, champakas, mangoes, coconut trees, date trees, pomegranates. Right? So there were, you name a tree, it was there. Okay, and then so there was a lot of big lakes and all, and then all filled with melodious songs creeping from the birds. The flowers were blooming, and then there were lilies, lotus, everywhere there was fragrance. Okay, and there the leader of the elephant lived in this mountain. Okay. And so he was such a unbeatable king that even the lions, the tigers, right? Usually in an forest, a lion is called the king. But in this place, the leader was the elephant. Okay. And then there was no second person who could actually come and challenge him. So by the scent of his, right, the animals would fear by the time he walks, right, and then he walks, the earth to tremble, right. So in the sense, so his foots and everything were, so he used to make everyone shiver. Okay. And then he was all dripped with liquor, okay, intoxication. So he was fully materially, he was very opulent. So he had so many wives, children, yeah. And any animal who has to live in there, right? They have to live with his mercy. So it's not that the animals they can live in their own way. Yeah? So they were actually living on his mercy. Okay. So one fine day, what happened is he was actually traveling with his friends, yeah, and his near and dear ones, his friends, family, and then he was actually looking for an outing kind of thing, right? So usually same thing happens in the material world also, right? So we all tend to go to an outing, right? So wherein, so you want to forget your whatever regular lifestyle you have in, right? So maybe in a year you want some 4 days or 5 days where you want to take a break, right? And then usually all of the people in this age they do it, and then these days it's a fashion that everyone goes abroad. Yeah, so, so nobody wants to stay in India or say go to a temple and do service for 4 days and then get those transcendental vibes. That is also a way where you can actually break your normal way of living, right? So go to the temple, spend 4 5 days with family. That's also a possibility. Or go for pilgrimages. But yeah, things have changed. Now there are a lot of holiday packages. Say everyone wants to go abroad, enjoy for 5 days, and then come back. So like similar way, right? He was also materially inclined, and then he was intoxicated, and then he came for an enjoyment, and then he actually was thirsty in between, and then he entered into a lake. Okay, so to actually remove his fatigue because they walked for a long time, and then so they wanted to actually get out of the fatigue and then spend some time in the water, right? Enjoying this sport. Yeah. So he was actually all his entourage also, right? So like his wife, children, girlfriends, whatever they are, or his relatives all went in, and then they all were actually waiting. And then here, King Gajendra was actually the elephant. He was actually sucking the whole water in his trunk, and then he was splashing on others. Yeah. So, and then they were drinking water, they were spraying, they were actually doing so that though that was hard labor, right? So it's sucking water and throwing to the trunk is also not easy. But it was something which they were enjoying, and then it went in for some time. So unless a strong crocodile got agitated because and the water who's doing this all stuff, right? So he got agitated, and then the crocodile attacked the elephant leg in the water. Okay. So one of his leg was hooked up in the crocodile's mouth. Okay. And then so Gajendra is in midst of water. Okay. And all others, right? All other his friends and all, right? So they went out of the water looking at the situation. And then from a far distance, they were trying to pull his tail and all those things. But the problem is the crocodile is very strong in water. So Gajendra was trying that how can I just go to the shore? Once I touch the land, I'll finish this crocodile in no minutes. But this situation is different. So he's hooked up, yeah, and then she is not able to come out, yeah, and so and then he was getting weaker day by day because and crocodile was getting its strength, right? So because it was sucking his blood or eating his flesh or whatever it is, and then so it was getting stronger and stronger in water. And then Gajendra is not a water animal, right? And then he become weaker and weaker. So this fighting went, so this tussle went for very long years. So it was not one day or 1 hour. So it went for couple of years. And then the elephant was becoming helpless. Yeah. And then what happened is he didn't have any choice now. Yeah. So he's in a messed up situation now. Yeah. So this is in a crisis now, right? So now what happens is he tries to pray to the Lord. He gives because he knew that there is no other way, so wherein he can actually get out of this mess. So the last resort was the Lord. Okay. And then these prayers, right, are very auspicious. Okay. So if we sing them early in the morning, right? So after our Mangalarti or all, right? So this is very auspicious if you can actually remember this. There are roughly 25 shlokas. Either remember or take a print and then read also, right? So at last, what did it do is it picked a lotus flower. Okay, in that pain, amidst pain, right? So it took a lotus flower, it plucked it, and then he was offering to the Lord. And then Gajendra started offering beautiful prayers. Yeah. So in here, right, if we compare, right, so the living entities or our conditioned roles are like Gajendra, right? And then the lake where he's hooked up, right, is the material ocean. Yeah, this Bhavasagar, right? So we are actually dangling on this material ocean, right? So the lake is compared to the material ocean, and the crocodile is nothing but the three kleshas which we have in, right? So any living entity has to go through these three kleshas. Do we know what are those? Anyone? Any guess? Right or wrong, whatever you know, you can tell. So every living entity suffers in this material world by these three kleshas, which the material energy pokes us, but still we put them aside and then move ahead. So that's the representation of the Trishul. Yeah. So I've given enough examples, but yeah, I don't think
Prabhuji, let me try. Is it Satvik, Tamsik, and I don't know. I'm just thinking. The guns that tie us up. I don't know.
no, not gunas. So this is the material energy, right? So the material energy is always poking us with a Trishul, right? So Durga Devi has Trishul, right? And then the Trishul has three ends to it, right? And those are nothing but Adhyatmika, Adi Devika, and Adi Bhautika, right? So every living entity goes through these three kleshas, right? Either you suffer internally, right? So you get some stress, your bodily fitness, or something or the other, so which goes on, right? So you have disease and all. So that's Adhyatma, right? Yeah. Similarly, we have kleshas from others, right? Say somebody will hit you or somebody is not good with you, and then there is always a tussle with others also, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Bangladesh.
So even though if you want to live peacefully, they'll not allow you. Yeah? That's called Adi Bhautika. And Adi Devika. There is famine, there is natural disaster, right? So each one of us, right? So we go through these kleshas day in and day out. So until we are in this material world, right? There is no breakthrough. Yeah. So that's the reason Acharyas say that make sure that you go back to Godhead in this lifetime. But what happens? Something comes, we are in pain, or chalo ho gaya. So we feel okay, we are down for that moment, and then we adjust, or we we actually mm, try to accommodate with something better, right? So if it is too hot, then we try to adjust with an AC and all those things. But these things are all temporary. These are all material adjustments, right? So we try to make so many adjustments in life and then feel that okay, so this is what will make me happy. But that's not the goal of the life. Yeah. And then we'll see what Gajendra has to offer. Okay. So this is the prayer wherein Gajendra starts offering the prayer. Yeah. There are a lot of verses, so we'll go through couple of important verses and the whole purport. If and the other things, we'll read the translations. Okay. So here, uh, Gajendra starts his prayers. Sri Gajendra Vacha Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yatha Yatha Chid Atmakam Purushayadi Bhijaya Pareshabhi Pareshabhidhimahi. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Gajendra, the elephant of the king of the elephant said, Om, O my lord, Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Tasmai, unto him, Yatha, from whom, Etat, this body and the material manifestation, Chit, Atmakam, is moving due to consciousness, the spirit soul, Purusha, Purushaya, onto the Supreme Person, Adi Bijaya, who is the origin or root cause of everything, Para Ishaya, who is the supreme transcendental and worshipable for such exalted persons as Brahma and Shiva. Abhidhimahi, let me meditate upon him. The king of elephant Gajendra said, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the supreme person Vasudeva. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. So he is also praying, yeah, to Lord Vasudeva. Because of him, this material body acts due to the presence of spirit. It is nothing but our soul. And he is therefore the root cause of everyone. He is worshipable for such exalted persons as Brahma and Shiva. And he has entered the heart of every living being. Let me meditate upon him. So he's saying that he's not meditating on any of the demigods, right? So he is meditating on Lord Vasudeva. Okay. Mataji, can you read this purport, please?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Perfect. In this verse, the words itach chid atmakam are very important. The material body certainly consists only of material elements. But when one awakens to Krishna conscious understanding, the body is no longer material but spiritual. The material body is meant for sense enjoyment, whereas the spiritual body engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, a devotee who engages in the service of the Supreme Lord and who constantly thinks of Him should never be considered to have a material body. It is therefore enjoined Gurushu Nara Matiha. One should stop. One should stop thinking of the spiritual master as an ordinary human being with a material body. Archaye Vishnau Shila Diha. Everyone knows that the deity in the temple is made of stone, but to think that the deity is merely a stone is an offense. Similarly, to think that the body of the spiritual master consists of material ingredients is offensive. Atheist thinks that the devotees foolishly worship a stone statue as a god and an ordinary man as a guru. The fact is, however, that by the grace of Krishna's omnipotence, the so called stone statue of the deity is directly the supreme personality of Godhead, and the body of the spiritual master is directly spiritual. A pure devotee who is engaged in unalloyed devotional service should be understood to be situated on the transcendental platform. Sa gunan samitityayetan yetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Let us therefore offer our obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy so called material things also become spiritual when they are engaged in the spiritual activity. Omkara, Pranava, is the symbolic sound representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Tat Sat Idi Nirdesho Brahmanas Tri Vidaha Smritaha. The three words Om Tat Sat immediately invoke the Supreme Person. Therefore, Krishna says that he is Omkara in all the Vedic mantras, Pranavaha Sarva Vedashu. The Vedic mantras are pronounced beginning with Omkara to indicate immediately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, begins with the words Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is no difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and Omkara Pranava. We should be careful to understand that Omkara does not indicate anything Nirakara or formless. Indeed, this verse immediately says Om Bhagavate, Om Namo Bhagavate. Bhagavan is a person, thus Omkara is a representation of the Supreme Person. Omkara is not meant to be impersonal as the Mayavadi philosophers consider it to be. This is distinctly expressed here by the words Purushaya. The supreme truth addressed by Omkara is Purusha, the supreme person. He is not impersonal. Unless he is a person, how can he control the great stalwart controllers of this universe? Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are the supreme controllers of this universe, but Lord Vishnu is offers obeisances even by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Therefore, this verse uses the word Pareshaya, which indicates the supreme personality of Godhead is worshipped by exalted demigods. Pareshaya means Parmeshwara. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are Ishwaras, great controllers, but Lord Vishnu is Parmeshwara, the supreme controller. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. Thank you for reading this. So here, right, so what Prabhupada has stressed is about the Archa Vigrahas, right, and the spiritual master, or and the other stuff which we do in devotional service, right? So for others, it doesn't mean much. Okay. So if we go to a temple, right, and then if we see the Lord, right, so he is the king, right? And then even though so we are not that exalted, so wherein we cannot see the Lord, yeah, but there are pure devotees who see the Lord in the deity itself, and then they connect. So if you see, right, if you might have observed, if you go to a temple, right, usually we spend 1 or 2 minutes looking at the deity, and then that's it, we run away. But there are if devotees, you might have observed, they'll at least spend half an hour, right, because they're able to connect. So we'll have to, so we'll have to look at them, right, and then see through, and then try to follow those things. Yeah. So it's not that, so it's a piece of stone or so, right? So we should have trust, and then we should believe. So that's the incarnation of the God, because the prana pratishtha has been done into those vigrahas, right? Archa vigrahas, and then see there is God in it. But the only thing is we don't have the ability to see. So we'll have to try. We'll have to put our endeavors, and then so we'll have to pray to the Lord, right? And then even if the treatment, if you say, right, so it's like the treat in the temple, right? The Lord is treated as the king, right? So could be the cleanliness, or could be the offerings, could be the dressing, could be the artis. There is no compromise. Huh? So that's how we should actually treat the, the archivigrahas and all. So we should have a lot of respect, right? So in the modern day and age, everything is right? So people have started, because unless we do small things, right, at home, so like offering diyas, offering agarbatti, offering flowers, offering fruits, flowers, and all those things, right? So we'll have to do it every day, right? So every day we'll have to make a practice wherein we actually bring fresh flowers, right? So whatever is available, right? So maybe in the market you buy it and then put it in fridge or whatever it is. So try to offer flowers, remove the older flowers so which are used, right? And then even the diyas and all, right? So we'll have to remove those, and then wash, and then we should have another pair. So wherein so we put fresh diya, fresh oil, right? And then the agarbattis also, it should be every day we should have new agarbattis. Yeah? And then the offerings also, so whatever small or big we do in it. So I'll just take an example of fruit and water, right? So the water vessel which we put in for the Lord, and the fruit which we offer. That needs to be changed, and then so every day a fresh fruit has to go in, and then whatever fruit was being offered to the Lord, we take it as prasad, right? So all these things when we do, right? So then we get the bondage, or so we get the link. We try to develop some connection with the Lord, right? So that is how things will flourish. But these days, modern days, so now agarbattis are e-agarbattis, right? So in most of the modern cultured families, right? So they have that e-agarbatti with one dot, red color, right? And then the diya also is of which is an LED bulb, so which need not be replaced. It will be going for 1 week, 10 days, where it will glow until it get fuses, right? So we should avoid those things, because if we do that, right, so where will you have a connection to the Lord? So if we'll have to build some relationship, right? So we'll have to do some seva offerings. Then only we'll get to know. Yeah. Because for atheists, right, they'll feel that okay, so this is all unnecessarily people spending time. But it's not the way. You enjoy doing, in fact, all those things. Yeah. So those things are important. The Supreme Godhead is the supreme platform on which everything rests, the ingredients by which everything has been produced, and the person who has created and is the only cause of cosmic manifestation. Nonetheless, he is different from the cause and the result. I surrender unto him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's actually giving evidences of whom he is surrendering. Yeah. So he is actually giving the cosmic manifestation. So he's giving all this information. And then, and say, by then, I just want to ask, so do you not have a doubt that how could an elephant get this knowledge to pray to the Lord? There are a lot of elephants, right? So there are a lot of animals. Will all the animals be able to pray to the Lord?
No, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one question on Gajendra.
Uh,
Is Gajendra different from Ganeshji?
no, nothing to do with Gajendra and Ganesh. So, so Ganesh is different, Gajendra is different.
Okay, okay. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
So we'll have to touch a little bit about the Gajendra's past life. Okay. So Gajendra was a pure devotee in his past life. And then his name was King Indradumna. Okay. So he was a very pious king. He did all his formalities, what have to be done, and then he was in his Vanaprastha stage. Okay, so wherein he was actually he gave up his all kingdom and all, so he was done with everything. He came to the forest for meditation. Yeah. And then there what happened is a great sage called Agastya. He visited, so he had a small hermitage or a cave, and then he was passing by, so he visited. And then Indradumna Maharaj actually couldn't properly receive the sage. So he neglected the sage because he was in trance or something, and then so he neglected, and the sage got angry. Right? And then he cursed Indradumna to become a dull animal, which is nothing but an elephant. So he said that Indradumna had behaved like a dull stone, and hence he was considered to become a dumb animal. So that's what Indradumna Maharaj, after leaving his body, he become an elephant, which is nothing but King Gajendra. So that is how he remembered. So when he was in pain, in agony, and then he didn't have any where to go, right? So he, due to his past deeds, right? So in transcendental world, right? So whatever you do, right? Neha Vikramana Shosti, right? So whatever little efforts, lot of endeavor we do in, right, from past life, so those things will come as a flashback. So he, because he had done a lot of prayers and all, right? So he recollected these prayers of his past life. That is how he could offer the prayers, or else it's not possible for any animal or an elephant to actually do offer these things. Yeah. And then do we know who is the crocodile? There is a little bit background about the crocodile also. The crocodile is was also a Gandharva, a celestial singer. Okay. And then his name was Huhu. Okay. So he also did a mischief with King Indradumna actually neglected. So it was not something which he intended, but yeah, so that happened. So, but in this case, right, this Gandharva, he actually, so earlier the sages used to meditate underwater and all. Yeah. So they had those siddhis. Then it was sage Devala who was underwater. And then this who playfully pulled the leg of the sage Devala. So the sage got angry and then he cursed that as you have behaved like a water animal, hence you will become a crocodile. Right? So this is the arrangement of the Lord. And then the Lord will come and then at the end, say he'll liberate both of them. First is pure devotee, Gajendra, followed by the crocodile. Eh? Kalena panchatvam miteshu kritsna so lokeshu phaleshu cha sarva hete hetushu tamas tadasid gahanam gabhiram yastasya para abhivarjite vibhuhu. In due course of time, when all the causative and effective manifestations of the universe, including the planets and their directions and maintainers, are annihilated, there is a situation of dense darkness. Okay. So after this is after inundation, yeah. So see, when everything is annihilated, right? There is darkness. But above the darkness, however, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we know that when pralaya happens, everything gets vanished, but Golok Vrindavan doesn't get impacted. And then he says that I take the shelter of his lotus feet. Lakshmi Prabhu, can you read this purport, please?
Prabhu, Hare Krishna. From the Vedic mantras, we understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is above everything. He is supreme, above all the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. He is the supreme controller. When everything disappears by the influence of his energy, the cosmic situation is one of dense darkness. The Supreme Lord, however, is the sunshine. As confirmed in the Vedic mantras, Aditya Varnanam Aditya Varnam Tamsaha Parastat. In our daily experience, when we on earth, when we on earth are in darkness of night, the sun is always luminous somewhere in the sky. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Sun, always remains luminous, even when the entire cosmic manifestation is annihilated in due course of time.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
So here the example of sun is given. Okay. So in one of the hemispheres, we may feel that okay, so there is darkness now because the sun is not visible, but it doesn't mean that the sun is not shining. The sun is shining, but it is in a different hemisphere. Right? In India, it is now night, but the same sun is shining in US. That's how things move on. So Lord Krishna is always illuminating us. Yeah. Yeah. So and then this is one more thing. An artist on stage being covered by attractive dresses and dancing with different movements is not understood by his audience. Okay. So whenever there is a drama or a show, right? So we feel that the person who is doing it, right? So he is into that role. Similarly, the activities and features of the supreme artist cannot be understood even by the demigods or the sages. So it is very difficult to understand the supreme artist is nothing but Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna's pastimes, so what he does and other things, right? So nobody understands it. So we have seen, so there are a lot of bewilderments wherein Brahma had to face, right? So and then Indra has to face, yeah. And certainly not by those who are unintelligent like animals. Neither the demigods and sages nor the unintelligent can understand the features of the Lord, nor can they express in words his actual position. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead give me the protection. Mataji, you want to read this purpose?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. A similar understanding was expressed by Kunti Devi. The Supreme Lord exists everywhere, within and without. He even exists within the heart. Sarvasya chaham hriday sanivishto ishvaraha sarva bhutanam hridadeshe arjuna tishtati. Thus, it is indicated that one can find the Supreme Lord within one's heart. There are many, many yogis trying to find him. Dhyana Vasistha Tad Gatena Manasa Pashyante Yama Yoginaha. Nonetheless, even great yogis, demigods, saints, and sages have been unable to understand the bodily features of that great artist, nor could they understand the meaning of his movements. When then is to be said of ordinary speculators like the so called philosophers of this material world? For them, he is impossible to understand. Therefore, we must accept the statements given by Supreme when he kindly incarnates to instruct us. We must simply accept the word of Lord Ramchandra, Lord Krishna, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and follow in their footsteps. Then it may be possible for us to know the purpose of their incarnations. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo yati tatvatah त्याक्तवः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नयति mam iti so Arjuna. If by the Lord's grace one can understand him, one will immediately be delivered, even within his material body. The material body will no longer have any function, and whatever activity takes place with the body will be the activities of the Krishna consciousness. In this way, one may give up his body and return home back to Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So here the pastimes of the Lord has been mentioned, or whenever the Lord is present also, right? So will not be able to understand him, right? So even the great yogis, demigods, saints, and sages have unable to understand the bodily features of the great artist. So he is not visible. So he is only visible to his pure devotees, unalloyed devotees, right? So even so, the demigods and others, right? So they long for to participate into the activities of the Lord. So, but the Lord doesn't give easily. So, so nor could they understand the meaning of his movement. So nobody can understand him unless we have the special mercy from him, right? So ordinary philosophers, they'll never be able to understand him. Yeah. And then for us, right? So we'll have to accept the authorities, right? So like what Lord Krishna or so all his incarnations have told us, right? And then our Guru Parapara, right? We'll have to follow their footsteps, right? So this is Shabda Pramana, right? So in devotional service, we'll have to go through that only. And then this is famous, right? Janma karma chami devyam evam yo vedi tattvata tvakva deham punarjanma netimam iti sarjuna. So whoever knows the pastimes of the Lord, right? And then whoever understands his birth and his pastimes, right? He'll never come back. Yeah. So whatever activities takes place with his body will act to Krishna consciousness. This way, one may give up this body and then they'll go back to Godhead. Okay. So he's further explaining that the sages and also they'll also it's very tough for them to actually look at. Yeah. And then the Supreme Personality of God has no material birth, activities, name, form, qualities, or faults. Okay. So he's like the sun. So if he disappears from this planet, he goes to the other planet. Yeah. So his activities, neither his body is material, nothing. To fulfill the purpose for which the material world is created and destroyed, he comes in the form of human being like Lord Rama and Krishna by his original internal potency. Okay. He has immense potency and in various forms, all free from material contamination. He acts wonderfully, and then he sets an example. Okay. He says that I offer my respectful obeisances. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the self-effulgent Super Soul, who is the witness in everyone's heart, who enlightens the individual soul and who cannot be reached by exercise of the mind, word, or consciousness. So with these things, you can never reach him. Okay. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized by pure devotees who act in transcendental existence of Bhakti Yoga. So this is the only way so wherein you can get the mercy and then you can get the connection. Other ways in Bhagavad Gita we have seen that's not possible. He is the bestower of uncontaminated happiness and is the master of the transcendental world. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Vasudeva, who is all pervading, to the Lord's fierce form as Lord Narsimhadev, to the Lord form as an animal, to Lord Dattatreya, who preached impersonalism, to Lord Buddha and all other incarnations. So he's remembering all the incarnations, and then he says that I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has no material qualities but who accepts three qualities within the material world. So and then he doesn't get impacted with all these modes of material nature because he is the proprietor of it. Yeah, so he is nirguna. Within this material body, I offer the obeisances. So he's praying the same thing. So he continues. So, my Lord, you are the observer for all the objectives of the senses. Without your mercy, there is no possibility of solving the problems of doubts. The material world is just like a shadow resembling you. Indeed, one accepts this material world as real because it gives a glimpse of your existence. Yeah, that is how we feel in. So this is a perverted reflection, right? So we have seen in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, Urdhava Moolam, right? And then we feel that, so this is an all imitation, right? So the actual jewelry is there, where in Golok, and then we are only imitating. Huh? So he says, my dear Lord, you are the cause of all causes, but you yourself have no cause. Therefore, you are the wonderful cause of everything. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the shelter of the Vedic knowledge contained in the Shastras like the Pancharatras and the Vedanta Sutra, which are your representations, and who are the source of the Parampara system, because it is you who can give liberation. You are the only shelter for all transcendentalists. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. Yeah? So, for any karmi or anyone, right? So only the Lord has to give the benediction. So this is all. Yeah, and then this is one of the important one which, yeah. So he says that Madrik prapanna pasupasha vimokshanaya muktaya bhuri karunaya namo lalaya samshena sarvatanu manasi pratita pratyagdrishe bhagavate bhrate namaste. Since an animal such as me has surrendered unto you, who are supremely liberated, certainly you will release me from this dangerous position. Indeed, being extremely merciful, you instantly try to deliver me by your partial feature as Paramatma. You are situated in the hearts of all embodied beings. You are celebrated as direct transcendental knowledge, and you are unlimited. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. So this is a longer purport, so we may not be able to read, but the overall story is that he says that since an animal such as me has surrendered onto you, right? So you are supremely liberated, and then he's saying that you're the only one who can actually pull me out of this dangerous position. Yeah. We'll see if there is any important. Yeah, can we read this para, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. So, a human being who identifies the body made of three elements as the self, who consider the byproduct of the body to be his kind, the kinsman, who considers the land of his birth to be worshipable, and who goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to bathe rather than to meet men of transcendental knowledge, there is to be considered like a cow or an ass. Bhagavad Gita 10.84.13.
Bhagavatam. Yes.
Bhagavatam. Practically, everyone therefore is a pashu, an animal, and everyone is attacked by the crocodile of material existence. Not only the king of the elephants, but everyone of us being attacked by the crocodile and is suffering the consequences.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So this is what we touched in, right? So wherein we said that, so the kleshas which we hit in is nothing but the crocodile, right? And then if you see, right, who considers the land of his birth to be worshipful and who goes to a place of pilgrimage simply. So if you go to a place of pilgrimage simply to take a dip in the water, right, and then who simply goes to a bath and then he does his shopping, he is into his material world, right? So those kind of pilgrimage trips will not help us, right? So only for that minute you go and then take a dip. So though that will give you an Sukriti, it's not bad. But the other thing is whenever we go to any yatra, right? So the ultimate thing is that we go for transcendental vibes. Okay. So we go and then say we get the transcendental knowledge of the place and all, right? So if we are not doing that, if we are not doing sadhu sangha there, right, and then say if we are into our same thing, right, so what you do and then day in and day out, the whole day you did one dip and then you go and then do all shopping and then you eat wherever you like and then you are back to the hotel, so what's the use of it? Yeah. So that's what has been mentioned here. So, and then here he says that after worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, those who are interested in the four principles of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation obtain from him what they desire. So, even all these things, right? So, they'll have to go. Artha, Artharthi, Jigyasu, all they'll have to go, which is a good thing. At least they're going to the Lord, right? And then all the benedictions are given by the Lord Himself. Unalloyed devotees who have no desires other than to serve the Lord worship Him in full surrender and always hear and chant about His activities. So these are Ananya Bhaktas, which are most wonderful and auspicious. Thus, they always merge in an ocean of transcendental bliss. Okay. Such devotees never ask the Lord for any benediction. So these are the Bhaktas. Okay. So they don't ask for any benedictions. Their only job is to serve the Lord, right? Because they know that we'll have to serve the senses of the Lord. So we'll have to dovetail what is with the Lord, what is Lord's requirement, right? And then they are happy serving to the Lord. However, I am in danger. Thus, I pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternally existing, who is invisible, who is the Lord of all great personalities, such as Brahma, and who is available only by transcendental Bhakti Yoga. Being extremely subtle, he is beyond the reach of my senses and transcendental to all external realization. He is unlimited. He is the original cause and he is completely full in everything. I offer my obeisances unto him. So he's saying that I know that we should not ask this benediction. So unalloyed devotees will not ask, but the current situation is very bad. So I am in danger. Then so hence I'm praying you to rescue me. Yeah. So this is all about the Lord. Yeah. So here you see, this is again a beautiful prayer which Gajendra says that Jijivishe Namaha Iham Yu Kim Antarbhihischa Chavartyabha Yona Ichhami Kalena na as Yasya Vipalavas Tasyatma Loka Varnashaya Moksham. Yeah. So he says that I don't wish to live anymore after I am released from the attack of crocodile. So he has realized that this material body is of no use. So once this crocodile, I'm released from this clutches of the crocodile, right? So I don't want to take any more birth, and then I want to go back to Godhead. So what is the use of an elephant's body covered by external and internally by ignorance? I simply desire eternal liberation from the covering of ignorance. So he's saying that what is the use of having a bigger body, so which is full of ignorance? Yeah? I simply desire eternal liberation. So he's asking, I desire the liberation from the covering of ignorance. This covering is not destroyed by the influence of time. So he has realized there is no point of having this material body. I am now fully desiring release from material body. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personal Person who is the creator of the universe, who is himself the form of the universe and who is nonetheless transcendental to the cosmic manifestation. He is the supreme knower of everything in the world, the super soul of the universe. He is unborn, supremely situated. Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances to him. So he's saying that I don't need any more this material body. So please take me back to Godhead. So this is the last. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose illusory energy the Jiva, who is part and parcel of the God, forgets his real identity because of the bodily conception. So this is the conditioned soul, right? So it's like a father. We are what? So the Lord says that Mamevam Shujiva Loka, right? So we are a part and parcel of the Lord. But so the relation is like the father and son. But once we are in this material world, right? So we are so strongly bound with this Maya that we forget our real identity. And then we have all these bodily conceptions, right? I take the shelter of Supreme Lord of Godhead who glorifies, whose glories are difficult to understand. So we are in the illusion of Maya, right? And then here you see the Prabhupada's purport. The Lord and the living entities are intimately related like father and son. Yeah? This is a verse which everyone, this is a line which everyone has to remember, right? So we are actually contaminated, right? As long as the living entity is not enlightened, so that he may understand his real position, he is attracted by materialistic life to house, country, life, society, sons, family, community, bank balance, and so on. Covered by all this, he'll continue to think I am this body and everything related to the body is mine. But how long is your body going to last? Nothing. Whatsoever money you have, whatsoever fame you have, it will not be forever. The world's richest person also has to leave his body one day. The materialistic conception of life is extremely difficult to surmount, but who surrenders to Supreme Personality of Godhead as did Gajendra, the king of elephants, comes to enlightenment of Brahman platform. So this is how it's very difficult though, but yeah. So we have got the formula from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incarnated and then so he has given us the Kali Yuga Sankirtana, right? So the yajna. So we'll have to do it with a lot of firm faith, right? So then, so probably we'll also go back to Godhead. So Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhyate param. So this is from 18th chapter. Yeah. So one who is transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joy. So no sauchati na kankshati. So he doesn't have any sukha dukkha. He's equipoised. And then he looks everyone as equal. So in that stage, he attains, in this state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So with this, we'll end Gajendra's prayers. Hare Krishna. Anyone wants to ask anything?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have one question. What happens in the end to Gajendra?
The Lord comes in. So the uh, Lord hears his prayers, and then he comes in on Garuda, and then he delivers. First, he delivers Gajendra because he is a pure devotee, and then he goes back to the Godhead, and then the other Kinnara or the crocodile is also being relieved from the. He goes back to his own world. Yeah,
Does the crocodile also leave his body?
yeah. So he'll also get liberated with the touch of the Lord.
Yeah, okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So
Prabhuji,
thank you. Huh?
sorry, Prabhuji, one more question. I had one question on um, uh, Krishnaji's brother, Baldev, Baldev,
Hmm.
Baldev ji. So it's like he was in